Farmweek is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, a new cotton gin is coming to northeast Mississippi in the Noxubee County area.
The Everything Garden Expo in Starkville mixed art and horticulture at the Mississippi Horse Park.
In Southern Gardening, Mailbox Gardens see some ways to create a great first impression at your home.
In the markets, corn prices see their largest two-day rally in almost a month before a sell-off later in the week, as a new forecast says world cotton production will remain ahead of consumption.
In the feature segment today, you'll visit a state where the recessions never landed. North Dakota's economy is booming as a result of oil exploration. It's actually easier to find a job than it is to find a place to live.
Each rig brings anywhere from 80 to 100 workers with it, and then you get all the extra things that you need, the stores, the restaurants, all the things there, and we're really being pushed to the limits. A big increase in rig count would really challenge us.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artist Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
Gins have moved out of Mississippi in recent years, but now there's news of a new one being built.
Leighton, the Commercial Dispatch newspaper reports that construction is scheduled to start this week on a new cotton gin. It will be located in northern Noxubee County, and it will serve farmers in Alabama and Mississippi. The $6.5 million gin will be built in the Black Prairie area of Noxubee County. It's the first new gin to be built in Mississippi in a long time, according to its owners. It will be called the Bogachita Gin Incorporated. The gin will have 4 year-round employees and 20 to 25 temporary workers during the harvest season. One of the co-owners, Rodney Mast, said it will be owned by 25 cotton growers who farm from Aliceville, Alabama, up to Clay, Lowndes, and Noxubee counties in Mississippi. Mast says the area's farmers will benefit in two ways. First, they will not have to haul their cotton 50 to 100 miles to get it gin. Second, Mast said the new modern gin will clean and handle the cotton better, making it more valuable. Cotton gins remove the seeds, the leaves, and the stems from cotton fiber. The seeds are used to feed cattle and make vegetable oil.
Garden art is not a new subject on Farm Week, but the Starkville Area Arts Council took it to the next level back in March. The Everything Garden Expo celebrated various art forms and how you can integrate them into your garden and landscape. Farm Week's Amy Taylor reports from the Mississippi Horse Park.
Those who visit the annual Everything Garden Expo quickly realize you don't have to have a green thumb to enjoy this event. Robin Fant, president of Starkville Area Arts Council, says the SAAC organized the expo to target various interests.
We try to take every facet of the arts and do a little something with it, and this takes gardening, and you'll see a lot of garden sculpturing stuff out here that it's all a part of the arts, whether you're culinary arts or painting or dancing. Art comes in many ways. There's different vendors, everything from landscaping to gardening to your rose bush enthusiasts. I've seen a lot of roses. I saw some huge ferns going out. So whether you've got a green thumb and you grow things in the garden and you really like to do gardening, or it's just you like the aesthetics of making your patio or your house look better. There's plenty of artwork from furniture to decorative things, but a little bit of everything.
Fant says this year's theme for the expo was sustainability to emphasize the benefits of sustainable gardening. Representatives from the Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute of Mississippi offered an exhibit to educate visitors about growing more natural, healthy gardens and agriculture products. He says the Everything Garden Expo is fortunate to have support from other organizations.
It's been a partnership really with different organizations each year. The Horse Park has been very active, and the university, the Extension Center, has been a big part of this from day one. There are educational activities. I didn't realize that actually to be a master gardener that they have to have continuing education. So there's a lot of master gardeners here getting some continuing education from the lectures going on.
Additionally, activities were available for young people such as beekeeping and growing your own plants. This is the 4th year for the Everything Garden Expo, which took place at the Mississippi Horse Park. From Starkville, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
The mailbox is often the first thing people see when they arrive at or drive by your house. Well, in this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us how some gardeners can use a mailbox garden to make a roadside statement.
As I walk around my neighborhood, I can't help but enjoy the mailbox gardens. A beautiful display planted around the mailbox announces to the world that a gardener lives here. A trend in newer subdivisions is to include planting beds around the mailboxes for landscaping. The planting areas are convenient and there are lots of effective and attractive plant choices. Planting climbing plants that behave themselves are good choices. Here, mandevilla, sometimes called dipladenia, has begun its climb on its trellis and will provide color all summer. Confederate jasmine can be trained as a mailbox companion. In the late spring and early summer, small star-like flowers are sweetly scented. Planting near the street can be challenging with the high heat load. Try plants like this lantana, which will tolerate the hot conditions better than most. And don't forget about multi-season plantings for mailbox gardening. Telstar dianthus is a colorful choice for spring and early summer. When the weather starts changing in the fall, ornamental kale will continue the colorful show. The post office does have guidelines about planting around your mailbox. The carrier certainly doesn't want to hack through a jungle to deliver your favorite gardening catalog. Having a nice garden around your mailbox can enhance any landscape, no matter what awaits you inside. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says use a garden at your mailbox to create a great first impression for visitors. Later in the feature segment, looking for a job? There are jobs waiting in North Dakota. In fact, finding a place to live is harder than finding a job. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, a couple significant reports in the poultry sector.
That's right. We'll be telling you what the implications of those are for the #1 commodity in Mississippi. We'll be talking with our Extension Ag economist. Also, since our last program, China makes a big purchase of U.S. corn. India lifts its ban on cotton exports. And pork may benefit from the misinformation about BSE. As we record this week's edition, soybeans are moving lower in price. However, many analysts say they see some big moves coming in the opposite direction. More sales to China were announced by the USDA earlier this week, and this is seen as new evidence of the continuing strong demand from that area of the world. And the declining South American crop, well, it is helping limit any losses in the soybean pit. Now, the point to remember, say traders, is that there's a lot of talk by technical analysts that they expect front-month soybeans to trade $16 at some point in the near future. A major export sale of U.S. corn to China was reported since our last Farm Week edition. This purchase has renewed concerns that Chinese demand could stretch the already tight U.S. inventories of corn. Analyst Virgil Robinson says export sales like this are only going to push prices above their recent trading range.
This week, the combination of old crop and new crop corn sales, the largest in total, dating back to, I believe, 1991 or 1994. So clearly that underpinned the market and provided a lift in futures and in cash. Now, interesting, the inverse grew stronger. New crop corn futures week over week were up 2 cents.
Jones reported that on Monday of this past week, India lifted a ban on cotton exports, a ban that had been implemented back in early March. Now, initially, this news sent old crop prices sharply lower. Now, additional cotton available for export is bearish for the United States as a competitor, but analysts say India has even lost some stature as a reliable exporter because of its actions. Now looking at world production, the International Cotton Advisory Committee is forecasting a 13% dip in the Chinese harvest for 2012-2013. If it happens, that will be that nation's weakest cotton harvest since 2005-2006. On the other hand, the organization sees an 11% increase in the U.S. harvest, assuming that improved weather and lower abandonment takes place than in 2011. This is higher than the USDA's forecast in February of this year. Our trivia quiz transitions us into the livestock side of the markets, and here is this week's question for you. Who is the world's largest importer of softwood lumber and logs? Your choices for an answer: Japan, Spain, China, and Australia. We'll have the answer coming up here in a moment.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar in the second part of the markets. Leighton Spann reports on the poultry and hog markets. In the feature segment today, it sounds too good to be true, but if you have a skill, you can probably find a job in North Dakota. We'll tell you why.
Committed? Absolutely. People rely on me. I don't take that lightly. Sure, sometimes we get out of sync and things feel forced. That's when the commitment kicks in. You buckle down, hammer it out, and keep it together for everybody involved. So, yeah, I'm completely committed to my marriage. Till death do us part. Commit to your marriage.
Now, before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. Mississippi State University will hold 4 white-tailed deer short courses in June and July. The workshops take place in 2-day sets. You can attend one or both. Day 1 will cover habitat, nutrition, harvest management, and hunter recruitment. Day 2 will help you analyze what your trail cameras are showing you, scoring antlers, aging deer, and meat processing. The first workshop takes place Friday, June 1st at the Hinds Community College branch of Hinds CC in Vicksburg. Saturday, June 2nd, the location is the Mahana Wildlife Management Area at Valley Park. You need to register by May 18th for either of these. Registration is limited to $70 for day 1 and $30 for day 2. The cost of all the workshops is $95 per day or $180 for both days. Friday and Saturday, July 13th and 14th, the 2 workshops will move to the MSU campus in Starkville. June 29th is the registration deadline for these sessions. Once again, seating is limited, so please register ahead of time. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now let's check out this week's Farm Week snapshot.
In the closing days of April, the government provided a snapshot of the chicken industry. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley joined me in studio Thursday to discuss the poultry production numbers with me. John Michael, let's begin with broiler production and what's happening now as opposed to 1 year ago.
We've seen quite a pullback in broiler production, down about 5% from a year ago levels. Really started about this time a year ago when inventories, chicken and cold storage was up about 8.5%, drastic increase there. The industry started pulling back. We've seen chicks placed drop about 7.5% over the past 6 months, pretty steadily at 7.5% over the past 6 months, which has definitely pulled down the number of birds that have been going to slaughter, and thus the lower production number.
All right, now of course feed costs are what these companies are having to deal with, soybeans, corn, other ingredients. That really hasn't changed a whole lot as far as helping the industry, has it?
If anything, it's gotten worse as we've seen soybean prices go up. Corn prices have been trending up a little bit over the past number of weeks, so it's actually moved against them. But the good thing is this pullback in production that we have seen in the industry has helped out with prices. Overall, bird prices up about 7%, largely due, quite interesting, to an increase in leg prices. We haven't really seen an increase in breast prices, but we have seen quite a big increase in the lower value meats. The leg price is up about 15%. So that's really surged, helped out with output price.
Now what about the export picture for chicken?
Pretty much similar to all of our ag commodities. The dollar has been increasing, which is never a good thing, but we are expected to continue to increase our chicken exports over this coming year.
So for the remainder of this year, pretty much things to continue as they are right now?
Should at least be steady to better for the industry.
1 week after the announcement that a BSE positive cow was found out in California, the U.S. Meat Export Federation says that our foreign beef customers are pretty much staying put. However, analyst Walt Hackney says there is some animosity about beef out there in the world, animosity which is positive for the hog markets, where some poor demand has been a problem.
Pork is actually in the catbird seat right now because of some of this anti-publicity going on with beef. Pork is cheaper, it's as consistent, probably more consistent. The consumer just may step up and make pork the meat of choice.
And just before our feature story, here's the answer to that trivia quiz we posed a few minutes ago. It is C. China is the world's largest importer of softwood lumber and logs.
Even as the United States economy is slowly turning around, there is one state where the recession never had an effect. In fact, this state has lowered its taxes. The discovery of crude oil in the Bakken Shale Formation in North Dakota has resulted in an oil boom. For the town of Williston, the boom has created a problem of how to handle so many new residents so fast. Market to Market's Paul Yeager reports.
2 years after the worst downturn since the Great Depression supposedly ended, America continues to claw its way back from the economic abyss. There is one place, however, where unemployment is virtually non-existent, state coffers are bursting, and a diverse economy is growing almost exponentially. Welcome to North Dakota, the state the recession forgot. With an annual economic impact of nearly $7 billion, agriculture accounts for 30% of the state economy. But an oil boom in the western part of the state now is bringing big trucks and big hopes to North Dakota. And nowhere is that more apparent than in this formerly sleepy town of Williston.
Obviously, there's some real challenges, and you know, we would like to grow a little slower. You could control what's happening.
Ward Kozer has seen dramatic changes in his 17 years as mayor, but nothing could prepare him for the seismic shift that began when the first commercial rig drilled deep into the Bakken Shale Formation in 2006. In the ensuing 5 years, more than 200 rigs took root in the western part of the state. Rumors now are circulating that 50 more wells could soon be drilled in the region, and Kozer is a bit concerned for the 20,000 people who now call the Williston area home.
Each rig brings anywhere from 80 to 100 workers with it, and then you get all the extra things that you need, the stores, the restaurants, all the things there, and we're really being pushed to the limits. A big increase in rig count would really challenge us.
In addition to drilling rigs, countless oil jacks dot the otherwise mostly barren landscape, working around the clock, pumping black gold from deep within the earth. But it's the technology deployed on the drilling rigs that has set up a classic oil play in the Bakken. New, and in some respects controversial, horizontal drilling and fracturing methods are unlocking billions of barrels of heretofore inaccessible crude. The procedure, more commonly known as fracking, begins by drilling vertically until workers reach a zone of interest. They then gradually drill to a 90-degree angle. Cement casing is then installed and small fractures are created. Finally, sand and water are injected into the voids, allowing oil or gas to flow into the wellbore.
This technology, being able to go down 2 miles and out 2 miles with the technology to put that drill bit inside a coffee can, down and out 2 miles, 4 miles total, has really changed the game.
As head of the North Dakota Petroleum Council, Ron Ness has seen the North Dakota oil industry expand dramatically in his 13 years on the job, and he says the growth is accelerating.
No, I didn't think this industry would be where it was 6 months ago today. We keep having to recreate ourselves. The expansion, the ability to take a basin that's producing 100,000 barrels of oil a day and now go to probably 450. This is serious oil. We're just getting started.
Though virtually non-existent 5 years ago, oil production accounts for about 25% of the state's economy, but its share is growing every day. Oil speculators, however, aren't exactly new to North Dakota. The state enjoyed similar booms in the 50s and late 70s, but as the holes dried up, so did the economy. This time around, though, officials say things are different.
We think it's going to take about 33,000 wells to produce this oil field. And so we're not even 10% of where we need to be when we get to the end of this drilling phase.
As director of the Department of Mineral Resources, he oversees regulations, permits, and surveys of oil and natural gas sites. And Helms predicts things are going to be rockin' in the Bakken for quite a while. In May of 2008, when North Dakota's total oil production was estimated at 4 billion barrels, Helms delivered what he calls his "this is going to be enormous" speech. His outlook was criticized at the time for being too optimistic, but Helms says he actually understated the future of fracking.
That speech actually underestimated what's happening by about 50%. Our estimate of the amount of oil in this Bakken formation, just in North Dakota, is 170 billion barrels. We think we can get about 11 billion of those barrels out. If someone can come up with a way to just increase the recovery of this oil 1%, that'll be another billion barrels that we'll take out of the ground. So this thing has a very long life to it.
But the blessings of oil are not without their own set of burdens. Housing is a major problem. Campers are parked on just about every available space. New developments are under construction, but builders can't complete them fast enough. In the last fiscal year, the city of Williston issued $220 million worth of building permits, 10 times the state average for a community of its size. But for those lured by the call of crude and lucky enough to find housing, opportunities abound. Trucks literally outnumber workers in Williston. There are no vacancies at any of the local hotels, and infrastructure is being stretched to the breaking point. Roads are deteriorating, crowded, and by some accounts, dangerous. Nearly $2 billion in newly allocated state funds will help, but will likely be insufficient to accommodate the Bakken's enormous potential. While state coffers are brimming, officials are reluctant to sign blank checks.
We had an 8,000% increase in our Department of Transportation budget, and a large amount of that was one-time infrastructure spending to meet the demands. You got to be prudent in your decision-making.
Fresh water supplies are ample thanks to Williston's proximity to the Missouri River, but the local water treatment facility is woefully inadequate.
We literally have sewage coming out our ears. We have grown so rapidly, and we need to be expanding, and we're trying to expand.
Rather than wait for government solutions, some companies are taking matters into their own hands.
Got a company in Watford City, North Dakota, Badlands Power Fuels. 2007, he bought the business. He had 20 trucks and 40 employees. Today he's got 600 trucks, 850 employees, building 400 and some apartments, houses.
While the potential is not without pitfalls, North Dakota officials are aggressively embracing the call of crude. And with the nation's lowest unemployment rate and the economy that is the envy of virtually every other state, they claim prospects for prosperity also are high.
The thing that I always drive home thinking about is that we're only 10% into this thing, and that 90% of the work is still in front of us. 90% of the production is still in front of us.
For Market to Market, I'm Paul Yeager.
And you can watch this story again on our North Dakota on our Farmweek website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also find Farmweek stories on YouTube and Facebook. We'll also have a link to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well and also read the script. That's farmweek.msucares.com. So Leighton, one of the things to think about is, we think, well, all this oil, shouldn't our oil prices be going down? Well, oil is a global commodity, unfortunately. So
all that oil is not staying with us.
That's right. All that oil doesn't necessarily stay with us, or it's the fact that it's worth that much money. And so that doesn't necessarily mean our prices are going to come down, but I guess we could know that it is oil that we know about, and it's oil that we don't have to worry about somebody who could cut our supply off that we do get from that area. But one of the things, even down in southern Mississippi and southeast Mississippi, there's the So-So oil field, which is down in Jasper County. I mean, they've been pulling oil out of there for, 60, 70 years. But as the price of oil has increased, they've gone back in there and reworked that field. They're even piping, they've laid a pipeline, CO2, carbon dioxide, is coming down out of central Mississippi into the Soso oil field to pressure that oil and to get more oil out. And that's because oil is worth more than it used to be.
Yeah.
So it all keeps going. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, Eubank's Produce of Loosedale, Mississippi.
It is one of the state's largest commercial horticulture operations. The wholesale business grows more than 1,000 acres of hand-picked fruits and vegetables. Part of the farm is devoted to a summer U-pick operation.
In Southern Gardening, use warm colors if you want to bring something out of the background and get it noticed. If you'd like further information on a Farm Week story or want to suggest a story to us, we need you to get in touch with us. Now, you can also find us on Facebook and YouTube. We'd like to get you there on Facebook and click that like button. Our mailing address, though, is Farm Week Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. That's Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. Our telephone number is 662-325-2262. You can also contact us through your county office of the Mississippi State University Extension Service. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.